Check. Okay. So I'm actually more nervous in this moment to start talking about something that I don't fully understand. And I'm also nervous that I will say something that proves I have an unconscious belief about fellow human beings and how that might look to other people for them to see that I am racist in some way that I don't even know about, or that I'm racist in some way that I do know about. But I'm going to do my best to provide my point of view for what it's worth, simply because I'm human and I need to learn, and I also want to share and teach and help other people learn. And I have this platform, Trey and I have this platform that has respect attached to it, so it would be a disservice to not say something, at the least. And I'll also note at the end of this that there's more than just doing the least that we intend to do. But I'll start by being nervous and speaking my point of view. So the first thing I want to say, well, I'll start with this actually, is I've been scanning the world, been scanning the media, social media, and the news, and conversations that I have on a daily basis, and feeling into what I'm hearing, and then, imagining myself taking on certain point of views and expressing them as my point of view, and then feeling into whether or not that's true for me. So this is how I've been doing this process with this process of me trying to compute how to combat or alleviate or reconcile the texture of authority that would hold a knee to the neck of a human being for 9 minutes until they died. The texture of authority that doesn't hear the words, "I can't breathe," over the sound of their own biases. Or the texture of authority that would push an elderly man to the ground and then walk by him as he bled out. And these are images that we've probably all seen. And so I'm scanning the news, I'm scanning articles, I'm scanning videos to find out where I land in all of this. And then to find out what I can learn. And the first thing I'll say is, we will rebuild. And you can take that in whatever way you need to be at peace with where we are in this moment, because we will build, and we will build it better. And you can look at the history of humanity, and you can look at the history of even the U.S. nation. Hurricane Katrina came and it took out an entire section of a state, and we came together and we rebuilt. You can look at not just rebuilding physical structures like when a hurricane hits, but even rebuilding the morale when we experienced the act of terrorism on September 11th, we rebuilt. We didn't rebuild the towers. We built the memorial, but we also rebuilt ourselves as a country, as a human population of people. We came together and we grew from it. And I'm speaking now to the fact that things are being destroyed, or things have been destroyed over the past week, 2 weeks. And that there is there are a lot of people who are choosing to make that the context of this moment. People looting and stealing, or people breaking and burning. And what I want to say to those people is, we will rebuild those things, okay? We will rebuild the Target, and we will rebuild the Nike store, and we will rebuild the police station, and we will rebuild the AutoZone. Those things will be rebuilt. And I just want to say that first, because I'm going to make a point of why I needed this to be this way, for me to wake up to something different. For me. I'm not asking you to say it's true for you. But I've been scanning the different opinions and in the images to land in my own truth, and I needed this to happen. And what I mean is, I've been alive for almost 30 years now, and there have been several instances, and as a white male, I actually can't tell you the number of instances that a person of color, or even a white person, has been injured, hurt, or killed at the hands of this texture of authority that we're now standing up to, or learning, or figuring out how to reconcile. I can't even tell you. I haven't. And some people could name every single instance, because it has hurt for them. I can't do that, but I've been alive 30 years, and I know it's happened several times. And it's just a thing on the TV. It's just a thing that kind of goes on Facebook, and then we move past it, just like the cycle of news, right? That's what it's occurred to me as. Not like I'm choosing not to care, but it just hasn't struck me in a way that I've cared. I've cared, absolutely, for human life. And I've cared that there has been injustice to people of color, but I haven't cared enough to actually do anything with my body and my voice. And I needed this how things are happening now. I personally needed this, because some part of me couldn't stop watching. Some part of me could not stop watching, whether it was, I don't know. I don't even know yet what part of me couldn't stop watching, and that's not the point. But the point is, I kept showing up. I kept scrolling, and I kept watching these videos of people burning and looting, and I was just stuck to it. And why that was important for me, because in the midst of me scrolling, or watching the news, or reading the articles about the rioting, about the burning, about the looting, I'm hearing perspectives that I've never heard, that I never even knew existed. It's like living in a house for 30 some years, right? And then finding out that there are several other doors, several other windows and mirrors in that house that I had no idea about. It just came out of nowhere. And I was so attached to what was happening that I started hearing these voices and these perspectives in the midst of me coming back for more, right? So this part of me that wanted to see what was happening, I was opened up, and then other things came in that have started shifting me as a person, as a man, as a white man. And then from that place, holy shit, like I did not know that you as a black man or woman, or you as a Mexican man or woman, or you as an Indian man or woman experienced that thing. Actually, I can't even imagine. I can try to imagine me experiencing it, but I can't imagine it. And I never have imagined it until this moment. And so I hear these things over and over again. A video about an interview of black fathers and mothers sitting with their children and explaining to the cameraman, to the interviewer, how they teach their children to move in the world and to speak in the world because they are afraid that they're going to die. And that they're probably not going to be there when they would like to be there to protect them. And so they have to teach them in a certain way to be a certain person because they don't want to lose their child. And I know what it's like to not want to lose your child. And it's excruciating to watch men and women teach their children to put themselves aside in order to survive. Fuck. And so these are just a couple of the scenarios that I've witnessed that have brought me to a different place. And then from that, I'm having conversations with white people and with some of the black people that I've been around my whole life. And I have one of my best friends. We have just been through it all together. Or I thought we'd have been through so much, and that we had this deep connection as men, as dudes, you know. And I realized that I had never actually seen him until a week ago. I'd never seen him. And I didn't know how to see him. I didn't know how to make space for him to be seen. I didn't know I wasn't making space for him to be seen, or for him to be real, to be true, you know, like with this dynamic between us. And because I've been experiencing these videos and these writings of how black people are experienced and experience the world, and it's opening up my mind to it. I showed up to these conversations with my friend last week with a totally different texture of humanity. And then I learned even more about the way black men and women don't use their voice because of fear, and the way that it can even come off as ignorance to other people when there's really a powerful person in there that's been conditioned or trained or even taught to act in a certain way for safety or for some other reason. Or it's just like passed down unconsciously in the lineage because of what has happened to African Americans over the span of this nation, the United States in particular. And so I learned from that conversation with him, and I learned how to be in those moments with him, how to just be with him and other people of color in particular, and people in general, in a way that allows for the type of safety that every man and woman deserves in order to articulate themselves and be themselves in the world. Okay, so these are just some of the things that I've learned, and I'm still making a commitment to myself and to my family and to my friends and to this world, this human race, to not just let all of this pass by like a news cycle in the next 4 months. I'm doing everything that I can to put myself in positions that I can learn of my own unconscious biases and to heal them, and then to help other people do that. And the point I want to make is that I would not be here in this moment articulating it in this way with the realizations that I've had so far if people weren't burning shit down, if people weren't running in and stealing things, if people weren't making a scene, white and black, all kinds of different people in the streets. You can watch the videos and see the different backgrounds coming together to protest over the loss of George Floyd and several men and women in the history of this nation, in the history of this world, due to injustice and systematic or unconscious biases. And I would not have shown up in this way, in this moment, if I weren't attached to my phone for 6 to, I don't even know how many days, straight, that I was just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for more and more and more. And in the midst of these riots and these protests, feeling the real pain of people of color, feeling the real pain because I'm watching those videos in between. So I say we will rebuild, because we always do. We always rebuild, and we always strive to rebuild it better, to rebuild it more inclusive. But for me in particular, I came to the point where I realized that my point of view was, yes, things are being broken, burnt, and torn apart. And we will rebuild it. And within us, each individually, if we're paying attention, things will be broken, burnt, and torn apart. And it's what we do with it after, to reconnect the dots, to put the bricks in place. And if we can allow ourselves to just feel the truth of the pain of our experience and of another person's experience, we can rebuild better than we've had ever in the past, personally and on a community level, on a human level. And so, with that being said, this is just the beginning for me. This is just the beginning for this podcast, for Trey and I to help in this burning of these synapses in the minds and the bodies of us as human beings and as our community. We're going to do our part in this. And we don't know how to do our part in this at the same time. So, one, I just send my love and condolences to anyone that I've personally hurt because of my inability to suspend my judgments and to love you fully. And then I'm going to do my best moving forward to become that man that doesn't shrivel up in the presence of things I don't know. And I apologize for anyone listening to this who isn't fully seen in their experience of the world. Whether it's the pain you feel as a person of color, or whether it's the pain you feel as a person who has lost their business in this, or the pain of somebody who, I don't even know how many perspectives. I don't know the perspectives, so I can't just list them here. But if I have missed something or misspoken or said something true for me that ignores the experience of you or somebody else, I ask for your forgiveness there. But if I've missed something, I also encourage you to reach out. Please reach out. Or if you feel inspired, please reach out and let our conversation be the impetus for the next move for me and my life, for you and your life, and for this community of listeners to the Mosaic Life podcast. Let our conversation be that next move into the liberation, the reconciliation of people of color, of Black lives. Because I'm ready for more. I want to learn more, and I want to share more and help this podcast be a platform for that. Oh, so I'm still nervous, and I thank you for tuning in and listening. And please reach out if there's some way that we can do this deeper and better from this podcast in particular, and for my life and for my family. All right. Thank you.